Hi everyone, I'm Brandon and welcome back to News4Teens. For this week, I thought we'd take a break from COVID news and focus on something a little different. This week's Economist has an intriguing article about blue carbon. This refers to carbon dioxide that's been removed from our atmosphere and oceans and stored in coastal and marine ecosystems. It turns out that these particular coastal and marine ecosystems do a far better job than forests on land at sucking carbon from the air. For example, marine ecologist Professor Duarte found that the same area of seagrass can soak up as much carbon dioxide each year as a rainforest 15 times larger. According to a report by UNESCO, an arm of the United Nations, about 33 billion tons of carbon dioxide, which is equivalent to 75% of the world's 2019 emissions, are stored as blue carbon. This makes the role of blue carbon critical for fighting climate change. When we talk about blue carbon, we're mostly talking about three types of coastal and marine ecosystems. These are mangrove swamps, tidal marshes, and seagrass meadows. These ecosystems store carbon in both plants and the underlying sediment of the ecosystem. Scientists believe one reason that blue carbon ecosystems are so effective at capturing carbon is that they are much denser than their land-based equivalents. They can also double the amount of carbon stored away by trapping floating debris and organic matter, which settles on the sea floor. Let me briefly tell you about each of the three ecosystems. First, we have mangrove swamps. A mangrove swamp is a type of tropical forest found at the edge of where the land and the sea meet. Mangroves are generally found in coastal regions closer to the equator. The Everglades National Park at the southern tip of Florida contains the largest mangrove ecosystem in the Western Hemisphere and is one of the largest mangrove carbon stores. Some countries with the highest areas of mangroves include Indonesia, Australia, Mexico, and Brazil. Next, we have tidal marshes. Tidal marshes are also known as salt marshes, are coastal wetlands with deep soils that are built through the accumulation of mineral sediment and can be found mainly along the coasts of North America, Europe, and Australia. For example, Mexico's Siancán in Tulum is a home to a large tidal marsh ecosystem. Finally, we have seagrass meadows. Seagrasses are flowering plants with long green grass-like leaves and deep roots that are found in underwater meadows. They've been found along the shore of every continent except Antarctica. Carbon accumulates in seagrasses over time and is stored almost entirely in the soils, which have been measured up to 4 meters deep. The Everglades National Park and the Great Barrier Reef are two of the largest seagrass meadow areas. While super efficient at capturing carbon, these ecosystems are also important for other reasons. Mangrove swamps, tidal marshes, and seagrass meadows are also critical to supporting coastal water quality, healthy fisheries, and protecting the coast from floods and storms. But while they aren't vulnerable to wildfires like the land-based forests we typically think about, they're still threatened by natural disasters like cyclones and human activities such as aquaculture, agriculture, pollution, and urban coastal development. When these ecosystems are destroyed, not only are they no longer able to capture carbon at their previous efficiency, but they can also release the carbon dioxide they've captured back into the atmosphere. According to Professor Duarte on a podcast on blue carbon, we've lost about 50% of the global area of these habitats. Some experts have estimated that every year, as much as 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide are being released from degraded coastal ecosystems. Currently, many countries have not included blue carbon strategies into their climate change policies. But as blue carbon gains awareness, conservation and restoration of blue carbon sites offer a potential for an efficient and powerful strategy for addressing climate change. For more info, I've linked below a blue carbon report published March 2nd by UNESCO, and the follow-up podcast with one of the lead authors, Professor Duarte, discussing the report's findings and potential impact. This topic was eye-opening for me as I was more aware about green carbon, the carbon that is taken up by ecosystems on land like the trees and forests. I hope you learned something new as well and are looking forward to my next video.